Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz. I'm the Rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, speaking to you from the pulpit of our synagogue. At this time, I'd like to address you on the topic of echoes of Esther. Echoes of Esther. Of all the Jewish holidays, none is as lighthearted on the surface as Purim. It features merrymaking, costume partying, noisy celebration, and for some, the consumption of more high-proof beverages than is the norm outside certain sectarian Jewish subcommunities. And yet this lightheartedness overlays a very serious core message. The joy of Purim expresses the giddiness of survival in the face of genocidal intention. Haman wanted to kill us all, and he very nearly succeeded. For me, two facts in the biblical Esther story stand out as especially relevant to our times. First, the remoteness of God from the outer appearance of events. And second, the need for the Jewish people to defend themselves against armed aggression, even after the elimination of Haman, the plotter of our intended destruction. The lack of any mention of God in the book of Esther, the only biblical book with this feature, has been the source of much speculation, going back to rabbinic times. In one rabbinic composition, the achingly sad words of Psalm 22, verse 2, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Those words were an allusion to the despondency of Esther as she took her life in her hands and approached King Ahasuerus in violation of court protocol. The rabbis imagined the scene. She was walking the corridors of the Persian palace, looking at the statues of all the Persian deities, and in her deep sadness she cried out the words of that psalm. But then, after passing the row of idols and leaving them behind, she reestablished her spiritual connection and regained her faith. Then she recited the triumphant closing lines of the psalm, quote, God has not spurned me, nor has despised the affliction of the lowly. God has not hidden his face. When the lowly cried out to him, God heard. My descendants will serve God. It will be told to generations to come. They will proclaim God's bounty to a people a-borning. For God has done. And those are the last few verses of Psalm 22. As the Bible relates, Esther's risk-taking is rewarded. The king receives her and subsequently executes Haman after Esther reveals that his genocidal plan would kill her among the other Jewish victims. But alas, we do not live in a Bible story. History is not sacred story. The daring missions of would-be rescuers of Jews from genocide have often failed. When Jan Karski, the Polish diplomat, met with President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in July 1943 to describe the Nazi atrocities committed in the Warsaw Ghetto, FDR made no commitments other than to win the war. And as we know all too well, Allied military action never prioritized interrupting the Holocaust machinery of mass murder. Our tactical air forces specialized in bombing Nazi-controlled rail lines, but we never bombed the lines leading to Auschwitz, although by 1944 they were within the range of our bombers based in Italy. We could not have saved all the Jews, but we could have saved untold numbers of them from among the hundreds of thousands whom Eichmann deported from Hungary to Auschwitz in the last year of the war. Hitler is dead, but anti-Semitism is alive. In fact, the emulation of Nazism is more mainstreamed in the United States of America today than at any time since 1941. And today, those who would murder Jews come from left as well as right, and from many, although thankfully not all, parts of the Muslim world, and from those who, out of a sense of pity but with blinkered vision, enable them. We have seen irrefutable proof that world bodies, such as the UN Relief Works Agency, have worked hand in glove with Hamas murderers. This leads to the second way in which the story of Esther is entirely relevant to our struggles today. Sinwar is dead. Nasrallah is dead. But the murderous agenda of Hamas and Hezbollah endures. As it was in the book of Esther, so is it today. Even after the death of Haman, Jewish people were forced to assemble and fight for their lives. The book of Esther records that many joined the Jewish cause after their victory. But we have no records of those who rose to defend us in our hour of mortal danger. Today, thankfully, the Jewish people do have some allies in our existential struggle, and we are grateful for them. But we understand that we must never relinquish the defense of our people to the hoped-for goodwill of a fickle world. That would be a violation of the so-called 614th commandment. You know that in traditional rabbinic enumeration there are 613 commandments. The 614th commandment was expressed by the Jewish philosopher Emil Fackenheim, himself a survivor of Nazi persecution. And he words it, "Thou shalt not hand Hitler any posthumous victories." Let that echo of Esther inspire us as we move forward in the year 5785. And let us remember that the living, and only the living, can make peace. We defend ourselves today and keep alive the hope of making peace tomorrow, should a partner for peace emerge. May it be God's will to bless the work of our hands. Amen.